What's new in CloudBees CI 2.332.2.6? Are you new here? If you are, welcome. And if you are new here, you don't know who I am. My name is Darren Pope, and I'm a developer advocate for CloudBees. On April 12, 2022, CloudBees CI 2.332.2.6 was released. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the new features and bug fixes included in this release. This release is based on Jenkins LTS 2.332.2. On April 7th, I did a video with Mark Waite talking through the changes in that release. The link to that video is down in the description. If you've never taken a look at the release notes for CloudBees CI before, let me show you how to get to those. We're going to start at docs.cloudbees.com. We'll click on Documentation, go to CloudBees CI, and then on the left nav, we're going to click on Documentation and select Release Notes. And here, we're on our Release Notes page. Before we take a look at the release notes, I do want to go ahead and call out this important section. If you are skipping any versions when you upgrade, meaning you're upgrading from an older version to a newer version that is more than just one release old, you need to take the time to go through each of the release notes in order to figure out what changes you might need to make in your environment to support the upgrade. Now, as I said at the beginning, CloudBees CI 2.332.2.6 was released on April 12th. However, this release is a security release, and the initial release was 2.332.2.4, which was released on April 6th. So in this video, we're going to be covering both the 0.6 and the 0.4 releases. Let's quickly go through what is in the 0.6. And since it is a security release, there is a security advisory that we can take a look at. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab, and we can see here that there were a number of plugins that were upgraded. So in this security release, the only changes that were made were to plugins. I would recommend that you go through and read this security advisory and understand what plugins were affected and how they may be impacting your environment. Now let's switch back over to the release notes. What you'll notice for the security release is there's no new features, no feature enhancements, no resolved issues, and no known issues. The upgrade notes that are shown here are also covered over in the .4 release, so we'll take a look at those when we get to that section. And in fact, let's go ahead and head over to those notes for .4. So go back one page. Let's scroll down to the 2.4 that was released on April 6, 2022. So we're going to go ahead and start looking at the release notes for the traditional platforms, and then we'll come over to modern cloud platforms and look at the items that are specific just to modern cloud platforms. Let's click into traditional platforms, and what we'll see under new features are headings for initial release of for these top three items. In a previous release, all three of these cask-related items were considered to be a preview feature. Now with the release of 2.332.2.4, all three of these items are considered to be generally available. And also related to configuration as code, we have these two items, added an HTTP endpoint to validate the bundles, and added the CLI command to validate the bundles. Again, both of these are related to configuration as code. This gives you the ability to go ahead and validate that the bundles are correct from both an HTTP endpoint and also using the CLI. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the feature enhancements, and the vast majority of these feature enhancements are all related to configuration as code or cask. There are improved validation messages, credentials are now supported as part of the folder definition, and a number of other items, again, all related to cask. Also in resolved issues, there are a number of cask-related items, but there is one specific item that I want to call out in resolved issues that is not related to configuration as code. And if we scroll down a little bit, what we're going to see is an item for fixed file locking issues with Windows. If you are running your CloudBees CI controller on a Windows-based server, there could have been issues where you had some file locking issues. Those issues have now been resolved. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the next section, which is known issues, which there are none. But let's go ahead and look at upgrade notes. At some point in the future, the version of Java that will be required to run a CloudBees CI controller will be Java 11. Now is the time to start preparing and, if possible, go ahead and upgrade your controllers to run with Java 11. Java 11 is now supported to run CloudBees CI controllers, And in fact, the CloudBees CI for modern cloud platforms, the controllers already over there are already running Java 11. So if you're still running CloudBees CI for traditional platforms and you're running with Java 8, now is a good time to go ahead and start planning your upgrade to Java 11. The date for the Java 11 requirement has not been set yet, but I highly recommend that you go ahead and start planning that upgrade now. Now, along with that Java 11 upgrade, if you had already set specific garbage collection settings using Java 8, those garbage collection settings change with Java 11. If you continue scrolling down here, you're going to see a section, when upgrading to Java 11, you must update your Java garbage collection arguments. There's a link to a knowledge base article that walks you through step by step all of those changes that you need to make. And that's pretty much it for the traditional platforms. Let's go over and take a look at modern cloud platforms. And there are only a few items to call out specifically. Under feature enhancements, what we're going to see is the ability for defining a service account annotation to support using workload identity. So if you're using something like GKE or EKS, up until this point, you were unable to provide a service account to use workload identities. Now, it's completely possible. Let's scroll down to the Resolve section and go through these items. Now, this list is a little bit longer, so pay attention. Previously, the YAML configuration was not being properly applied to managed controllers. This has been resolved. Also, some Kubernetes agent pods were not being terminated properly. Again, this has been fixed. And probably two of the biggest items, especially if you're running newer versions of Kubernetes. There were deprecated APIs that were being used. Now those have been removed and no longer cause an issue. And finally, the support for V1 beta versions for the ingress have been completely removed. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on Twitter @CloudBees. If this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.